Howdy, and welcome to the video. Today is going to be a little bit different than my normal content. So as you can see, Sped Up Andrew is cutting some wood. I'm going to be making a stool with mostly just beginner tools and stuff, and I've also got a story for you guys. So I'm just starting off by cutting off myself a little piece there. That's going to be the seat part where you place your bottom. And I'm not gonna lie, man, I had to cut myself off 3 different pieces because I kept fucking splitting it because I kept forcing the pieces when they was dry fitting. So that was a lot of fun. So our story begins with my wife and I deciding it was time for us to get out and go on a hike. We had picked out a spot to hike. It's a stretch of railroad between Hardy and Craig, about 13 miles total on foot. And so we decided that it'd be a good trip, that we would find a little spot somewhere around the halfway point and camp out for the night. But my wife ended up waking up sick the day we had planned on going, so we decided to wait it out for 24 hours and see how she was feeling then. She was feeling just a bit better, not at 100% though, so we decided to just make a day trip of it and not go sleep out in the bush, because it does suck to do that when you're not feeling good. With this change of plans, we decided to only initially hike to the halfway point, but somewhere between packing and talking to our ride, because we were going to get dropped off and then picked up, we got overconfident and decided, oh yeah, we could do all 13 miles in one day. So we tried to do exactly that, and I'm not gonna lie, it went really well for like the first 4 or 5 hours of our hike. We made swimming progress, and it was gorgeous outside for being January. It was warm and not a whole lot of wind, and it was a little cloudy, but not too bad overall. But right around the 4 or 5 hour mark is where things start to go a little downhill. My wife ended up wearing the wrong shoes on accident. She took the trash out and the dog out, and she just slipped on some like work shoes that she had, and she was really starting to feel it by the 4th hour in, which would have been probably around the 4th or 5th mile by that point. So we decided to stop and have a lunch and kind of, just collect ourselves, and we sat for a little while, took some photos, all that good stuff. And then we hiked for a little longer and made it to the halfway point. And we kind of had a crossroads. We could have, decided to stop there and just call it a day. But there was still a couple more hours of sunlight, and we planned on going for a little longer. So we did exactly that, and we pushed on for another mile or so. We were both quite tired, and the sun had just begun to set, and we had maybe an hour or 2 of daylight left. And we were both pretty pooped. Our hips were killing us, our feet were burning, and it was just kind of time to go home. So we got a hold of our ride with the small pocket of service that we had, and we hiked back to the halfway point. Once we make it back to the halfway point, we get a hold of David again in another small pocket of service that we have, and we send him the location where we're waiting for him at, in some place called Mid-Canyon. While we're waiting, we decide to do a little bit of exploring, and we decide to do some backtracking, because that's where the pocket of service is anyways, and we found some startling evidence. Evidence of what, you might be asking yourself? Well, evidence of a big cat, it seems. There was fresh bones and some like mauled birds, or what was left of them anyways, like a turkey, I believe it was. I wish we would have taken a photo of it. And even scarier part is we found this little cave with a trail can set up at the entrance, and all the animal mutilation and all the evidence seemingly led back there. Oh, we also saw some dried big cat prints on some of the railroad ties. So that's the only reason why we attribute it to a big cat. So bearing that information in mind, we were a little spooked, waiting around. We had definitely been in this dude's territory, and he probably wasn't happy about it. But there's not a whole lot of big cat attacks, and there was 2 of us. So as long as we weren't, going in some dark area by ourselves, putting our back to it, we should have been fine. But still scary nonetheless. So our ride is maybe an hour away. That's where he lives. And we're waiting and waiting. An hour goes by. And we're like, oh, well, he might just be, doing other stuff. He might have got caught up. Another hour goes by. And we're starting to get a little worried. But we still hold out hope for him. Hour 3 and 4 go by. And at this point, my wife and I are pretty freaked out. We're both getting really, really anxious. And the sun by this time has already set completely. I had got us a little campfire going to keep us warm because it was getting really fucking cold really quick. And we had tried to go back to the pocket of service and get a hold of him, but our phones had died, and he was not there. Our theory is that he went to one of the other lodges because he said that he was calling and honking, but that's beside the point. He wasn't there, and we were starting to get scared. So we decided to step away from our fire for a bit and try and flag some people down. I had a little pocket flashlight on me, and I was doing a little SOS to try and flag people down. And we even got 2 people to make eye contact with us, but they avoided us. I guess we must have looked crazy in that moment. Nor do I blame their hesitance. By this point, we were both getting very desperate. All we could both think about is that cat den, or what we thought was a cat den at least. I'm still not entirely sure. And it was dark and cold. But finally, I managed to flag down a truck full of contractors with my flashlight. They were coming down from a job site off the mountain, and he let us use his phone, but he didn't have service down there in the canyon, and I didn't feel comfortable asking him to let us use his phone and hike a half mile down. But he did offer us a ride to the closest town with service called Cascade, so we took him up on that offer. They had some phone chargers in there for us, so we charged our phone, and finally we got a hold of our ride, David, and the poor guy was freaking out. He called the sheriff, and he was worried that we were out there having to spend the night, and honestly, he did the right thing calling the sheriff. We're proud of him, and we feel so awful to even have put him in that situation to begin with. So the contractors dropped us off at this little gas station in Cascade, and we met up with the local sheriffs, and they did a wellness check on us, made sure we didn't need any further help, so that was really cool of them. We also caught up with David there, and we gave him a hug and made sure, he was doing okay. He made sure we were doing okay, and my wife at this point was still pretty rattled up, so we let David go home and, finish out his night, and we just waited for a ride from a family member. During this time, while we were waiting, a fella at this local gas station named Leroy bought us some coffee. So, hell yeah, shout out to my boy Leroy. That was really cool. He let us loiter around in his store while we waited for the ride. And it was pretty darn cold, so we certainly appreciated it. The ride home was pretty uneventful, other than the fact that we found out that we had an earthquake where we lived, a 5.9. Our roommates were saying it felt like somebody ran into the side of the house. And poor David, he was on his way home and he hit a damn deer, but he was lucky enough that he was able to limp his car home. But just, man, what a crazy day. I guess my wife was right to want to get a ride home from a family member. I feel so bad for David. That poor kid just could not catch a break. But yeah, that's our story. We definitely could have planned that out a little better, but I'm just glad that things ended the way they did and not my wife and I being some missing person podcast story. Are some takeaways that we're definitely going to apply next time going on an adventure, and I would like to share them with you guys. Like I said, better pre-planning was one of them. We should have had a plan B and C and multiple meetup points. Better communication devices and a portable charger should have been something we brought with us as well. We should have also packed lightly for an overnight stay, just in case, especially doing really remote stuff like that. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the story. Be safe out there, y'all, and enjoy watching me finish up making this little handmade stool. Don't make fun of me too hard. It's my first time ever trying something like this. So I made the legs out of birchwood, and the top, I believe, is just ponderosa pine. My coworker ended up felling some trees, and he needed somewhere to put it, and I offered to take it off his hands. So I'm going to try to burn it, most of it, and turn it into furniture. So yeah, there's also a lot of cottonwood in there too, and I've never really made anything with cottonwood, so we'll have to see how that goes in the future. The little pin things and the legs are, I believe, cedar. I ended up getting a bunch of scrap wood from a deck project last summer or so. So there you see me chopping the legs to length, and I know some people are going to be like, oh, why didn't you just make sure it was all, the same length at the beginning? And I tried, but the legs end up going through the top a lot more than I had anticipated. But it turned out, it works, and it's my first time doing it, and I think I did a darn good job for my first time making furniture. And I sanded everything down, starting with 60 grit sandpaper, making my way up to 220. It was hard to get some of those hatchet marks out, but yeah, let me know what you guys think about this type of content. It was my first time trying it, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think, all two of you. Well, see you guys later. Well, my shop floor isn't even, but it works. Hell yeah. Thanks for watching.